Hey everyone, this is Car Ray Rob, where I'm Ray.
And I'm Rob.
And this is our podcast, Hello Movies, My Old Friend.
Hello, movies. Hello, movies. Hello, movies. My old friend. All right, everyone, we're back for a brand new episode of Hello Movies, My Old Friend, the podcast where Ray and I revisit our old friends, as in movies, from when we were kids, high school cutoff is what we're thinking, high school cutoff, and see if those movies still hold up to this day.
Yeah, and I think this month we're going to have some problems, Rob. We're going to have some problems with this movie.
It's a modern problem to have.
Yeah, so should we tell everybody what the movie is?
I think we just did. Yeah. We are watching the 1981 comedy, black comedy, if I remember correctly, Modern Problems,
starring Chevy Chase.
Patti D'Arbanville.
I think you nailed it.
And the late Dabney Coleman,
R.I.P.
who just left us this past year. And so this was kind of a memorial screening, if you will, for old Dabney Coleman.
Yeah. So, like you said, it's been a long time since I've watched this movie. Probably
20 years.
Let's just say a long time. Let's just leave it at a long time. Definitely easy. Probably longer than that for me, to be honest with you. What do you remember about this movie? What do you remember liking?
So this is okay. So when you were at a certain age, especially the age when we were clearly watching this movie, there are those movies that are just like, I'm not supposed to be watching this movie yet. Not necessarily because of content, but yes, probably also because of content, but because of like, I don't understand this. Like, I have not reached an age yet where this makes sense to me yet. Right. But it's still funny for some reason.
Yeah, Chevy Chase.
Well, and that's probably part of it. And that's kind of how I remember Modern Problems, is a movie that I watched as a kid that I guarantee you, when we watch it now, there's going to be so many parts that I'm like, man, I did not get this then.
Yeah, because to me, what I remember most about this movie is like a guy with superpowers, telekinesis.
Yeah, I do remember there was like a toxic waste dump or something. Yeah. And then like they go to somebody's house for like the weekend. And like crazy stuff happens at the house, and like there's like little images here and there that I remember.
Sounds like you're describing Nothing But Trouble, but not that fun.
That's another movie that would work for this podcast. Now that you bring it up,
maybe I think I've seen that too many times. So
many times.
I'll have to think about it. Oh yeah, I love Nothing
I
But
I
Trouble,
did too, but I can't. It's probably been 20 years since I've seen that.
I'd have to think.
But this fits in that vibe, though. Yeah, that definitely fits in that vibe. Not just because Chevy Chase is in both,
but also was like a little bit weird to watch.
Definitely,
I'm like, why am I liking this so much?
Same vibe.
It's very disturbing.
There's like half of this movie I don't get, but Modern Problems is that.
Dabney Coleman being a bad guy, like a really bad guy.
Really, he's not. Yeah, he's definitely the antagonist of the movie, or an antagonist of the movie.
Yeah, so really I don't remember all that much of that. Yeah. Maybe a couple of scenes here or there, like I remember nosebleeds. Okay. And that's about it. Yeah. Nosebleeds, superpowers, and that's about it.
Yeah, I do remember that now that you say that.
So, yeah, that's about it. So, all right. Let's see if this movie's going to hold up.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm very excited, but man, I have a feeling we're in for a roller coaster. So this is the part of the podcast where we invite everybody to pause the podcast and go rewatch Modern Problems if you haven't already, just like Ray and I are doing.
We're going to come back fresh. Now. We want you guys to do it too.
Exactly. And see if this movie is as funny as we remember.
Ray and Rob are currently watching the film. You may be also watching the film. If you're not, then you're listening to me say that Ray and Rob are watching the film. They'll be right back when they're done watching the film.
Yep, there was definitely a lot about this movie that I did not understand as a kid.
Yeah, I'm like,
wow.
did I like some of these parts? I was like, I watched this as a kid, but like, might as well just had the volume off. I don't know if I understood what was going on for a second.
Yeah, no, I visually there were a lot of things though that kind of zinged in my head that was like, oh, I remember that visual moment. I remember even like when he kicked the hole in the beanbag chair. I don't know why. Like I just totally remember watching that as a kid.
The exploding genitalia.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely remembered that moment as well. But again, it's a movie where you're like, okay, as a kid, maybe between 10 and 12 years old watching this movie, I'm like, I didn't understand this. And I couldn't have. There's no way I could have. But but I found it funny. I remember finding it funny, but it makes sense. So like, Mr. Kitty Kaiju, sometimes, he'll walk in and we're watching something and it's, not an adult movie, but you know what I mean? Like an adult situation movie where you're like, okay, I'll understand this when I'm an adult because I have to live a certain experiences to be able to understand the punchline of this joke. We watched Jim Gaffigan the other day.
Sure, great comic.
Yeah,
very appropriate.
Yeah, and it's not inappropriate, but it's like it's still that thing where it's like, okay, I haven't lived life long enough to understand what's the meaning of this joke. And he walked in and he was watching it, and he was dying laughing at parts, and it was like a situation. He even said he was laughing. He's like, I don't understand what he's talking about. I don't understand the joke. And it was, well, yeah, because like, you're not 40,
But you just know like the cadence of communication. So like you just kind of get like the way that just rolled off your tongue or your facial expression after you said it was hilarious. And I think Chevy is universally understood like that because he's such a physical actor too.
Yeah,
and his facial expressions and reactions are so like minute but hilarious sometimes. Like, so I can see myself as a kid maybe just relying on Chevy to like, should I be laughing now? Okay, yes, I am.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's clearly moments in this movie that are really funny because of the physical comedy.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, like the joke. Or the ballerino scene. Obviously that's really funny, mainly because of the physical humor of it. Him sliding across the stage, going into the orchestra pit, or when his junk explodes. Like obviously, like that kind of stuff was physically funny, whether you understand anything. The connotations of it or not.
The nosebleed scene, I still thought was funny.
Yeah.
That still worked for me. That's like it's an easy gag, but I liked it. It fit what they were trying to do. It was funny.
Yeah, absolutely. But like, clearly the orgasm scene, like as a 10 to 12-year-old, you're like, what's happening? Like you kind of understand, I'm sure, but like
I always even understand that scene now. I mean, I was like,
that says a lot about you, Ray. I'm like,
he's in the kitchen right now, and she's acting like this is normal. I'm like, what are we supposed to do?
You can't do that?
Yeah. No.
Who can?
Exactly. So, yeah, I thought that was funny.
And then she didn't believe him when she
told
him.
I didn't do that. I was like, no, duh. You weren't even in the same room. But, okay. That I did not. The snorting of the demon dust.
Oh man, yes.
Which obviously, when you watch it now, it's so easily like it's going backwards, right?
Right.
The movie's in reverse there, but like
great effect. The effect of that was really good.
Yeah. You do it back, shoot out the vacuum, then play it backwards. But I just thought when I was a kid, like he's not possessed. We know he's not possessed. He's got these nuclear powers.
Right.
But I just thought it was funny that he's like, no, he's just snorting up the demon dust because it has no effect on him.
Correction, Ray. He tooted up the last of Dorita's demon powder. Yes. According to her, he tooted it up.
Yes, he did. He tooted it up good.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I definitely did not see that as a snorting coke joke back in the day.
But the premise of the movie is like, it's interesting because it's simple yet completely out there. Crumbling relationship guy that really can't get his act together. He's extremely insecure.
Yeah.
So much so that he drives women away, and he's going through a breakup with a Darcy who clearly is into him, but like just can't put up with him anymore.
Yeah, he's got better relationships with his exes than he does when he's with them. Like he still is besties with his ex-wife.
Lorraine, yeah, and she's great. Mary Kay Place is great in this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and then he gets doused in toxic waste
as he's driving behind a toxic waste truck that's leaking.
That is why we have regulations for that kind of thing. Just,
yes,
I mean, so everybody knows.
Clearly, all he had to do was hit the brakes, and he wouldn't have got sprayed with.
But it should not be sloshing out like that.
It shouldn't.
Whether somebody's driving behind it or not.
But when you know that your roof of your car is broke and the car in front of you is leaking toxic waste, you don't keep driving into it.
Yeah.
That's driver's ed 101 right there. First day lesson. But yes, so he gets doused with toxic waste.
He gets it and he finds he's got this kind of powers, but it is a little weird because it's like, are the powers meant to be like superpowers, or like they're almost treated like possession at one time, which I do feels kind of weird.
Yeah, because the end of the movie they were treating it like Dorita thought it was possession
and voodoo,
and it does get passed to Dorita,
so
so it is kind of weird, but we saw the toxic. The nuclear energy, or waste hit him, so we know that we're pretty sure that's where it came from.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so let's think about how the movie works and everything.
Yeah.
Kind of going back to this movie, so lots of stuff I didn't remember. I for one thought they were at the house for more than 15 or 20 minutes. It's
totally that same leap of faith thing where you thought that
I thought that he
that he had fixed the kid at the halfway point.
Right.
I thought the same thing with this. I thought they were at the house for the whole second half of the movie.
Yeah, it's funny we're coming back to these movies and our timing is off on
how
much we remember certain parts to be and how long they took. So and maybe they just were more maybe the house parts were just, we like them more, so we just assumed it was a bigger part of the movie because it holds a bigger part in our memory.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's not the case. They were only there for 15, 20 minutes, which is so weird to me. But so that's, part of that, the movie's a lot longer getting to that point. So I think that kind of affects kind of how I thought the movie worked and stuff. But how did you think it, coming back to this movie, you thought it worked for you overall?
Well, it's interesting because, as I said, watching it when you're a kid, there's, a lot of things that I didn't necessarily understood, even I guess maybe deeper message-wise, themes, grand themes, so I understood the basic story, guy not, having issues with his girlfriend, can't seem to, find the confidence or whatever to believe in himself or whatever. And, it kind of spirals out until he, kind of gets these powers and it helps him kind of overcome. But I think, what the most interesting thing about this movie is I feel like it really has something interesting to say. I think you've got these two characters. You've got Chevy Chase and you've got Dabney Coleman.
Mm-hmm.
And both of them kind of suffer from crises of masculinity. And, there's obviously a lot of talk about, toxic masculinity, which is a true problem. It is a real problem. And the thing for me, when masculinity becomes toxic, it's when it's driven by fear. Mm-hmm. That's what true toxic masculinity is to me.
Nuclear waste gets spilled on you?
Well, okay, so I'll get to that because I think that's part of it, absolutely. Because, so for Dabney Coleman, he's like that very quintessential, toxic masculine kind of guy where he's like, I say what I want and I do what I want and I take what I want. And if you don't do that, you're weak, and all of that. And then you've got Chevy Chase, who kind of suffers from a different kind of toxic masculinity where he's so afraid of losing Darcy that he pushes her away through his jealousy and his paranoia and all of that. So it's not like, and in the end you kind of find out Dabney Coleman is driven by fear because he really has to be seen as this guy, this archetype that's in his mind.
The manliest man in the room.
Right, exactly. And when he is faced with Chevy Chase, who, as you said, you want to talk about a visual metaphor, is literally doused in toxic waste.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. And then he becomes toxic himself.
Literally.
Yeah. And then when these two forces come together, Dabney Coleman obviously is humiliated in front of all of these people that really he's exerted control over.
Yes.
Whether it's Brian Doyle Murphy, whether it's Mary Kay Place, whatever. Like he is,
because these powers give Chevy literally the ability to push people around now.
The bigger fish has arrived. Yeah, exactly. And but Dabney is so the Mark Winslow character is so adamant on like reclaiming that masculinity that he goes and he gets the gun, or first he tries to kill himself,
which might be my favorite scene in the movie.
Right.
I just love when when Lorraine's trying to talk him out of killing himself, and she's like, "You love yourself too much."
Nope, doesn't help.
You dedicated your own book to yourself.
Nope, still going in the water.
You just bought a new Porsche.
Okay, that did it. That did it. I'm going to turn back around. You're right. And then the wave comes in.
Just the way Dabney looks when he turns around, like, yep, that.
What? You're right. I did do that.
I can't kill myself. I have a Porsche.
That's a Porsche. Yeah. So, like I said, you've got these two characters that are driven by fear.
Yeah.
And in the end, in a story like this, you want the Chevy Chase character to kind of overcome his fear and kind of come to the center, kind of find that balance of, the Dabney Coleman character and who he was before.
Does he?
No. No.
I don't know.
I don't think he does.
Yeah.
I don't think he does, but I think that's what the movie should have done.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I like what you were describing, maybe a hair more than what I saw, because I think to me, or I guess the movie falters as I look at it as an adult, is Chevy's character. Because, we're told throughout the movie countless times, you're too jealous, you're paranoid, like but we don't see why is he jealous. You know what I mean? Like, you don't really see anything that's like flawed in him necessarily, other than he gets jealous. But like, why are you so scared you're going to lose? Like, what do you think you don't measure up on? Like, what is your character flaw that you're afraid is going to be exposed? I don't think we ever see that side of him. So you just kind of come off as
an air traffic controller. I don't know.
Stressful job. I get it. I totally get it. He's like, I'm stressed out all the time. I get that, but
Side note, isn't it? I find it weird how like air traffic controlling was like such a movie job in the 70s and the 80s.
Yeah, airplane.
Summer Rental. Like John Candy was an air traffic controller in Summer Rental.
Just like an easy theme to show this person's stressed out at work.
Right. Maybe. Like that. It was like we have to think of the most stressful job we can. Air traffic controller. That's what it is. Yeah. Like, it's just so funny. It's very much of the time.
So much.
Nobody's an air traffic controller in a movie now.
No, why would you be? It's a computer's job now. But yeah, it's But yeah, so I guess we just don't get to see Chevy's like the reason I think behind why he's so jealous, and that I just kind of sometimes he just annoys me because I'm just like, what are you being jealous for? Like, give her a chance. Like, you broke up. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't know if there was enough like depth of his character to make me feel like I truly cared about him. And then even like you said, like as we get to an ending, I'm like, I don't know where I wanted to get to because I really don't know like what character flaw there is other than to say stop being jealous all the time. But that's more of a feeling than it is a character trait.
Yeah. Well, Lorraine had such a great line in describing Chevy
she does
in the movie, and he's a prince who thinks he's a frog.
And I love that line.
And I love the line. Yeah.
But I wrote down next to it like, but I don't feel like this is accurate. Like I don't think the Chevy character comes across as somebody who thinks he's a frog to me. Or if he does feel that way, I don't get why he feels that. Like, why do you think you're a frog? Why do you think Lorraine's going to leave you? Like, why are you worried? Tell me like what these issues are that you have so I can see you overcome those issues.
Right.
Those are the issues I want to see you overcome. And then jealousy will like secede away because of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and I think part of it could be that there just isn't like while Mark Winslow character is the antithesis of Max, the Chevy's character in this movie. I don't know if Mark Winslow is a part of the story enough to really solidify him as the true antagonist.
There's not enough countering with like to outbalance Chevy or to enough screen time for you to like really compare the two characters.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like that antagonist is split in half though with the Barry character.
Barry, absolutely.
Do we need Barry?
No, I think we either need they shouldn't have done Barry and Mark. They should have just done Barry or Mark.
Yeah, I think you could combine those two really easily.
Yeah.
Barry, like he gets the nosebleed scene. he's running the ballet.
Yeah, he's like a producer. Yeah.
And then that goes, but that could have been Mark, like, or just anybody could have been at the ballet. Like Mark could have been taking her to the ballet, and Chevy just wanted to ruin the ballet so that they don't have a good time together. Like
something, yeah.
So Mark could have definitely been Barry. I'd rather have had more Mark than more Barry because Dabney's great.
Yeah, well, yeah, obviously it's Dabney Coleman. Always more Dabney Coleman is great. But yeah, I just think for the strength of both characters, having them be more head-to-head throughout the whole movie, I think it would have made that final confrontation even more impactful.
Yes. I think that would have gone a long way for the movie. One of those things that I know I dislike in movies, I know that you dislike in movies and TV shows, we talk about it a lot because it happens a lot, but it's like a lot of the things can be fixed by a simple conversation. Right. And like all of Chevy's like this internal struggle he was going with through having these powers, like he never really told somebody like, I have magical powers and it's freaking me out. Like he was always like, we can talk about it later, or you know what I mean? Like I'm like, just say it, or or like people clearly see the magic occurring and they don't believe it. Like the window opened by itself, and Chevy's like, I did that, and she's like, good joke. Well, you just saw the window open by itself. Like something opened the window. Like obviously we mentioned the orgasm. He's like, she has an orgasm without Chevy in the room.
Multiple
and he's like,
times.
I didn't do that. And she's like, good joke.
Right.
Like, I mean,
well, no, she accuses him not being able to enjoy feeling.
I know.
She's like, I'm not even in the room. Like,
I literally didn't feel it.
Did you not realize I wasn't there? That's almost worse.
I know. Yeah. So it's like, there's just like these, like, people just have these, like, I don't know, there's these, you can cover up the plot point, I guess, and it just like, to just keep him in more limbo for longer, and sometimes that gets a little bit of annoying. That gets a bit annoying.
Yeah, but obviously the scene where he finally reveals everything. They get to Brian Doyle Murray's beach house, and they're
playing Brian.
Right, Brian playing Brian. But Brian. Okay, I had to get that in, everybody.
Call back, season 1.
Brian. But yeah, so that scene where he finally reveals everything, but they did know about it then because they had been talking amongst themselves away from him. So when that
they knew it was saying he had powers. They weren't believing it.
Right, exactly.
They thought he was trying to steal the attention away from, or Dabney or Mark thought he was trying to steal the attention.
Right, but I think that scene is good.
I do too. I actually like that scene.
So you've got Mark, like I said earlier, kind of this epitome of toxic masculinity. It's like a man can do whatever he wants to do. So he's kind of like exerting his power over everybody. He even goes as far as like trying to give his number to Darcy, like right in front of Max, and then he sets it on fire
after he was naked, like talking to her while naked.
Right. He's really laying on the moves there, clearly.
It's his game.
A game stuff.
You see my butt cheeks and you will not be able to resist me.
But, so he sets it on, sets the number on fire, the card on fire, and then, obviously raises his chair. And then, but when he, like, moves him around the room and then, like, brings him right in front of him and, like, kisses his forehead, I died because I totally remembered that. Yeah. Like, what is it? I was like, but even as it was getting ready to happen, I'm like, he's going to kiss his forehead. I remember this. And, like, he totally kissed his forehead.
Yeah. And, I kind of feel like, the scene kind of, like, it kept progressing because, like, Dabney kept forcing, I think, like, Max to do more. Like, he lights it on fire, and then Dabney says some kind of snide remark. Well, then Chevy picks up the chair, and then Dabney's character was like, yeah, well, you can control this chair, but you can't control me. So he's like, oh, well, now I'll control you. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think, like, Max was kind of, like, portrays this guy who's like, you were being really mean, or, like, he went up to his room and he felt like horrible about it. But I'm like, no, Mark got exactly what he was asking for.
Well, yeah, he bullied the bully.
Yeah,
exactly. That's the thing. He bullied the bully, but I still think it like you said, it kind of gets a little muddled at this point. Like, this is kind of where it really kind of gets muddled, and where it becomes like, well, is this a possession? Is this supposed to be
Yeah, because that's like there's like
superpowers.
Is there a subplot where like the disease is killing him? Like he's getting very gray from it, and you're not really sure like what to do there. So Dorita starts to try to fix him, but she thinks he's possessed, and we're like, that's not gonna work. Like, am I supposed to be worried that he's gonna die? I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be feeling right now.
Yeah, I thought the addition of Dorita was funny because I thought that was supposed to be the thing that would prove that it's not a possession,
right?
Because she would have done. She was like kind of doing her voodoo priestess thing. And her great line of when Darcy's like, I gotta get a doctor, and she's like, oh no, a doctor's gonna come in and do it all wrong, piss off the demon, blow us all to white man's hell, and I ain't got time for that. Like she's so good. Like the actress who played Dorita is so good. So they go upstairs and kind of have this like exorcist type scene. But ultimately, I felt like it's supposed to be like a toxic waste, like Toxic Avenger kind of situation, you know?
Yeah, because then they go to the roof and he gets struck by lightning, or is that how it goes away? Or
and then it goes into the telephone or the television antenna, then goes down to the TV, and then into Dorita.
So how does toxic waste travel?
I don't know. Exactly. That's my point. Like at this point, they've kind of like lost the plot a little bit. Where you're like, I don't know if they just needed a way out of this movie. Yeah. And like, this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
But I think the worst part is taking all of that supernatural stuff out of it. Does Max come to the realization that he needs to come to?
Right.
And I'm still going to say no.
Yeah, I'm not sure. He's just kind of feels like he's like, oh, I got Darcy. This is cool. You know?
Yeah. Well, and she's like, I love you, and I've always loved you, and all this. And he's like, oh, okay. I just need to accept that. And like, while that's true, I still feel like you can make the argument that it's so. I mean, he's the main character, as it is. Everything is going to be based in the gaze of that character. But it's like, it's still kind of based in fragility a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, I don't know if I felt the confidence come through. Like, it still felt like a fragile admission.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, the confidence still, I don't know if was necessarily there.
Yeah.
To nail at least what I'm inferring onto the themes of this movie.
Yeah. Well, whatever you're projecting on it is, I think, better than probably what we got. I don't want to sound like I'm absolutely bashing the movie, but because like we were just mentioning, like where it just feels so muddled, because when he does like take on Dabney, I think the scene is good. Yeah. But I don't feel like at the end of it, like, all right, Max has won and he's achieved this thing. I mean, it's just like, yeah, you bullied the bully, but now what? Like, you didn't win over Darcy by doing it. It wasn't like you were defending her.
And I think that could be the point. That you're like fighting toxic masculinity fighting. You know what I mean? Like sinking to that level isn't the answer. You know what I mean?
Getting struck by lightning.
Right, getting struck by lightning. But again, I'm not saying they nailed it. I know.
I'm not like making fun of you. I'm making fun of the movie.
I'm like getting to the plot to where I feel like it needs to be.
Right. No, I'm with you.
But yeah, and so it's a funny situation to be in a movie like this, where you obviously, as a child, when I watched this movie, a kid, I did not remember the grand themes of this movie was saying. But as an adult now, when I can more understand the grand themes, I still feel like they missed the mark.
Yeah, and I don't think when you're a kid you kind of cared about like how Max and Darcy got back together. You're just like, oh, that's cool. They both seem happy now. So I guess I'm on board with that. And that's I wanted Max to be happy this whole movie, and he was really a wet blanket the whole movie. So it's nice to see him happy. I think that's what you take into it as a kid, but as an adult, you just need a little bit more. And I just don't know if there was enough there for me.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that. I feel like we're up to the line where we're kind of giving away.
Yeah, we got to go.
No matter what. So let's just go ahead and just jump in both feet. So I'm going to ask you, Ray, because I feel like I already know. Ray, did Modern Problems hold up for you?
Unfortunately, Rob, I don't think it did for me. I think this had some modern problems, and that would be some character development. Like I said, maybe a real clear path to what the ending was supposed to be. Still had some funny parts.
Yeah.
I'm glad I got to rewatch it. I still think, for the science of this podcast, like seeing like how we go back and remember things comparing to what they really are is really funny to see how wrong my memory is sometimes. So, I enjoyed that experience of watching the movie. But, kind of like we were saying in the before section, I think in the future, would I recommend this movie? Personally, I would say no. Go check out like Nothing But Trouble. Go if you want to get a Chevy.
Maybe. I don't know if I remember that. I don't know.
I know. Well, we'll see. I'm saying, don't watch this one. Go watch that one. You might have a better chance. If you need a Chevy Chase fix, there's a lot of other good stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that's where I fall. What about you? I know you were really trying to look at this with a great lens. Where'd you end up falling on?
Yeah, it's hard to completely trash the movie because I do feel like there was stuff that there were moments. There were things in the movie, as I said, were interesting. Now, granted, that's me putting those onto this movie. Is that what they were trying to say? I don't know. But for me as a viewer, sometimes that means more because that's how it is with movies.
That's
I
art.
feel like it's art. It's art. It's what you put onto it. So sometimes things resonate with you that may not resonate with somebody else. So I'm going to give it points for that, for having this message, this theme that I do think is worthwhile and something that's great to talk about. Did they execute it well? No. I think they really kind of biffed it in the end. They kind of fumbled at the finish line, and they really needed maybe another 20 minutes to this movie. Maybe that would have helped it. You know what I mean? I did read that there were some cuts. This was actually an R-rated movie, and then they recut the film but prior to release to drop the rating down because they didn't want an R rating. So maybe that hurt the movie. Maybe there was stuff in there that could have been done that would have kind of really solidified.
It does feel like it loses focus. So maybe some of those parts are the reason why.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna give it an F plus, or maybe a D. You know what I mean? Like I think it passes partially because of those inferred themes. I do think some of the physical comedy stuff really still works. Mm-hmm. I think there are moments in this movie that are visually really still pretty genius. But as a whole complete package, it still really does kind of fall short. I just looked it up real fast. The audience score, there is no critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. The audience score is 32%.
Yeah.
So
was that higher than Hook? I know we were talking about Hook.
It was higher than Hook. It's actually 3 points higher. I think it was like 29% was Hook. But that was critic score, not audience score.
Yeah.
So that's
true.
different.
True. So that's a really low audience score.
Right.
That's a
really low audience score. So I think, again, it's a movie that it's flawed. It's definitely flawed, but I think that there is some gems in it that you might be able to gleam onto, but is it worth review or repeat watches? Yeah, probably not.
All right, Rob, we're going to wrap up this conversation of modern problems, and this movie had some modern problems, but the audience is going to have some Ray problems.
Oh, boy.
If they don't do their job at the end of this podcast,
don't want Ray problems.
No, you do not. Their job is to like the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, and leave us a 5-star review. And if they do leave us a 5-star review, we are going to read it live on air. No problems there. They can also get in contact with us at carrayrob@gmail.com. If they want to email us and ask a question, they can certainly do that. And they can reach us on Blue Sky at carrayrob.
Definitely. If there is a comment section on whatever platform you are listening to us on, by all means, let us know what you thought of Modern Problems. Did it still hold up? Did it not? By all means, let us know what your modern problems are. There are plenty of them out there. We will definitely listen. Also, maybe remind Ray and I of a movie that we could do for this podcast. We are always looking to add to our list of movies. We will be back next week, right? With the first episode. I'm just checking. Time is weird these days. With our first episode of May for Say Hello to My Little Film, and it will be back to me.
You know what you got?
I do, and I have something fun. I think you're going to enjoy it. I think everybody is going to enjoy it, so you're not going to want to miss it. And then we'll be back in 2 weeks with a very special surprise, but I am not going to let you know what that is. You are going to have to tune into that episode of Say Hello to My Little Film to find out what that is.
We've hinted at it before.
Exactly.
It's time.
It is time. The time has come. But until then, this is Car Ray Rob.
Where I'm Ray.
And I'm Rob. And remember, be defined by the films you love, not the ones you hate. Hello, movies. Hello, movies. Hello, movies. My oh